What y'all listening to?
Limelight Highlight Podcast.
And we're back with another episode of the Limelight Highlight. As always, I am your host, Jonathan Rosario, and you are listening to the podcast that brings all good things and highlights all good people doing all good things into the limelight. And today we are joined by a familiar friend to the podcast. He was actually episode, what was it? Episode 4. Hakeem S. Ruiz, also known as Keem, also known as Shaq Rose, also known as...
Keep going. DJ Perry and Raphael and Mississippi Swanson, Puma. The list goes on.
We would have an ungodly long podcast if we went down the list.
We'll save that for next one.
But we are actually in Japan. But this will not be releasing until my block sponsored event, co-sponsoring. So what company am I co-sponsoring? First off, before we get into this, let the new listeners, for those of you who don't know who Keem is, give yourself a small introduction and let the people know who's talking on the mic.
I am a young individual from the city of Philadelphia. I like long walks in the park and reading books. And also, I have a charity called The Block Gives Back. I'm vice president of that charity. I work with 5 other good gentlemen. And we do some big things in the city of Philadelphia. That's the primary basis of it. I was brought in as somewhat of an entertainment act. I used to make music. And now I am a community activist, I guess you could say. More of a community worker, I guess. I always work for the community. And I also have 2 good braids. You have 2 good braids. And we have 2 good minds. We think alike. And we come together and do things like this. And this is all I'm all about.
Yes. We do have 2 good braids. This is the first time.
Mine aren't as good as yours.
Well, it's because I've been recently getting mine done. You've had yours.
Like every 2 hours.
Because we got Precious, who is part of the crew who came out to Japan.
Facts.
And she's like a beast at braiding. And it's the first time I've ever had my hair braided.
It looks fucking awesome. It looks awesome, pardon me.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep the cursing to a minimum.
Which is hard for me to do.
As I said in my last podcast, well, not the last podcast, because I'm probably going to... So the reason I brought Keem on is because, once again, as he stated, we're going to be all over this with this podcast, so just stay with us. He is the vice president of The Block Gives Back. If you guys are avid listeners of this podcast, you know I've constantly shouted out The Block Gives Back, and I've constantly given out what different events that they've hosted. They are my favorite nonprofit organization because I'm biased because I'm from Philadelphia, and that is exactly where they do their projects. But back to the whole Block Gives Back thing. Every April, they do 4 blocks in 4 weeks. If you want to expand on that, Keem, you may do so. It's
pretty much spring cleaning, but spring cleaning with a reward. We go to 4 pre-selected blocks that are we pretty much gather the neighborhood. Meaning like a block captain, we go get the block approved of to get this, get the block party done. But it's not just a block party; it's a street cleaning. So we're not just going out there to clean the block for you. We're waking you up early in the morning, getting the youth of the block out there. We don't want any adults cleaning unless they're, just guiding and assisting. More so, get the kids out there to give them the inspiration and say, hey, look, I can clean my own block. I can take care of my own community. And then we reward them with a block party after that, which includes, we can bring a DJ out, free food, free T-shirts, all the bells and whistles. And this year, we are taking on a new level of sponsorship where we are sponsoring specific blocks. And I believe, if everything remains true as far as paperwork and whatnot, you'll be sponsoring the 4th week, which will be usually the best one because it's like the last hurrah of the event for spring cleaning.
Whoop, whoop.
And I think you are in that sponsorship along with Kairos X, Kevin Morales from episode 7 with The Block Gives Back. He's our one of our chairs of fundraising, and he also does music. So if you happen to be on Instagram, look up Kairos X because he has amazing music. Also look up The Block Gives Back at The Block Gives Back on everything.
I'm really happy that you know the episodes you guys are on.
Oh, I listen to them very often because that's who I am as a person.
That's been a avid saying since we've been out here in Japan. But the reason I bring up Japan and the reason I'm bringing up when we're recording, I like to be transparent, as you guys know, but we're recording right now towards the end of March, but this will not be released till that week that I'll be sponsoring that last block for the 4 blocks in 4 weeks. Actually, I might release it for the first week just because.
Get the event some attention, maybe.
Yeah, you know. So they started in April, 4 blocks, 4 weeks.
Every Saturday, we're going, I believe it's the 6th, 13th, 20th, and 26th. So those would be our days where, and I always like to say to people who volunteer, so if you're in the city and you're listening to this is an all-day thing. Like, we were just talking about my issue with my job where they're potentially not going to give me off for the full day. But it's not like I'm asking for a day off. I'm going to work for 12 hours at the very least. Because we get up maybe 6 in the morning to prepare, get all the tools and essentials for the cleaning. Then we're not out of there until at least about 8 when the permit's done, cleaned up and everything, and taking care of all that. So it's a full day where you don't necessarily have to volunteer. You could just come out for the block party portion and have fun. Come play some football with the kids. Or if you want, wear some dirty clothes, come out between 8 and 12, help with the cleaning, do some shoveling, some, a bit of raking, some leaves, whatever you can do. And even if you want to just come for the pictures, it's a good time. And we want this to be something that is spread, the awareness of this to be spread, because we can only do so many blocks. But the process is so extremely easy. It's ridiculous that more people aren't doing this. So that's, kind of the overall goal of it, to just say, hey, come out. We're not going to judge you if you come out for 5 minutes and say hi. I've had so many people do that. Friends just come while they're, I got a friend named Eric who he pulled up on me from working at Comcast. He was on the clock and just said, yeah, I just wanted to see what you had going on. And I'm really impressed. So, if anyone wants to just do that, just come. You don't even have to say hi, but come and observe. And that's going to do something for us. That's going to do something for you. And then in turn, do something for the community.
Boom. And I'm not going to get too deep, throughout this podcast with the origins of the block is back, because we covered that in episode 4 and episode 7. So if you guys do want to stop right now and go check out those episodes, if you haven't before, feel free. I mean, it's a podcast. It's going to be available. But if not, continue to listen and enjoy this podcast. So before we get any deeper into the events going on, I kind of just wanted to know exactly, since the last podcast, what are some improvements or setbacks you guys kind of face? I know we talked about it off the podcast, but just for people who are interested in maybe starting their own nonprofits and giving back to their community, what can they expect, or what are some of the things you guys are, essentially running into yourselves, improvements and, setbacks once again? 2
major ones, and let me preface this statement by saying the 2 major setback and improvement. I like to say that we don't really know what we're doing per se. We go into things with a great heart and try to acquire the knowledge by, talking to the right people, researching and whatnot, because there should be nothing stopping us from learning what we're doing. But we're doing it on the fly. And to say, right now we're in the process of gathering our official tax information to become an official nonprofit. We are a nonprofit, but we're not a 501c3, so we don't collect corporate donations at the moment. But we do have achieved our nonprofit status as of maybe about a couple months ago, and that was a huge step for us.
Oh, congrats.
We dealt with a great accountant, and she made everything easy for us. And within the next 6 months, hopefully, we'll have our 501c3 status, and that's going to be a major step for us to where we no longer have to ask for, our monetary donations and Venmo and Cash App or whatnot about certain things. They can, come from companies. We can get it from Peanut Chew. That's one I always like to go to. That's a local company that I can just send them an email and say, hey, we're having a block party this week. Can you donate some candy? And they'll be like, sure, it helps us and it helps you. So that's going to be major. And granted, we can still take on whatever people want to contribute to the cause. And also, we can still start, have our merchandise available for donation. But it's not going to be as relied upon to where we need to focus on that to get these events to run. And which means everything will just run much smoother. Sponsorships will be way easier to come by. Now, the negative we've faced is a backlash from just kind of the black cloud that hangs over our city, unfortunately. These block parties, usually it's nothing to get the permits approved because we go on the block and speak to the people who live on the block to get them to sign off. You need 75% of the block to approve it. So, we go door to door knocking with residents to get it to happen. This particular year, we got all of our percentage. Yet the police district steps in and blocks 2 of the permits based on where they are. And if you're in Philadelphia area, you'll understand that Kensington is an area that's overridden by the drug epidemic that's going on.
So hold on. So you're saying the police, who their job is to serve and protect, and in a sense improve the life and security of others, is stopping you guys from doing something positive because of the drug ridden.
You don't even got to answer the full statement. That's our assumption. They didn't even say why. We had to go find them.
And they don't need to give a reason why.
No, they just denied it. We paid for that permit to get done, put in the time and effort to get the signatures, and went to the people of that community that said, yes, we like this idea. We want to do this. And the people who work for us, and I'm hoping I'm not getting too deep on this issue, but the people who work for us, the civil servants, the police district of Philadelphia, whom we have a good relationship with, and for the most part, let me say that as well. I'm not trying to bring them down, but it's so unfortunate that this is something that has to be a bump in the road when we're trying to do something good. And, we would like for it to say, hey, this is a street clean. We're trying to improve this neighborhood. You don't even have to acknowledge the block party aspect. But we have to, make the phone calls, go into the office. Their office hours are from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., only on weekdays. So how are we
inconvenient? Six guys with day jobs. As it can be.
And meanwhile, we all pay taxes and whatnot, so technically they work for us. They're supposed to be assisting us. The same way we're assisting our community. We have our own day jobs. We go out and find a way to still do this. Why aren't they calling the information on that permit to say, hey, we want to know some details about this so we can make this happen for you? Instead, they just said, no, figure it out. And, that's some of the bumps in the road that we face. But persistence and determination, we are not going to be, just completely denied. Even if, unfortunately, it doesn't happen for this particular block we have selected, we'll find another one. And also, we're still going to work with that block and what they need assistance with. We can't save everyone, but at the same time, if we say, hey, we want to, be a part of what you have going on here, we're going to fight for it. And that's, what's happening. Unfortunately, I'm in Japan. There's only so much I could do, but I got 5 other great people at home that are making all the calls they can. Miss Rios from 2000 East Madison Street is using every connection she has in that Kensington area to make sure both blocks are taken care of. Not just the one that she's having a block party for, but the one that, because she sees the purpose of why this is such a big mission for us. And this is something that can really help that community.
So, if you do know, oh, you touched the mic, it's humming. There you go. If you do know, what is the process? Like you said, if you need 75% approval of the community to say, hey, we like this idea, we want to know what we have to do to get it done, and they get signatures, whatever gets approved. Where does that come in? Where do the police district just not want to be there for security purposes, and then it just gets shut down? I don't know if you understand.
I wish I did to this point, okay. But it's kind of just an assumption based on one of our great volunteers. He's pretty much a member of the team at this point, Angel Medina. He's been with us from day one. It was his block that we're trying to do, and he has a couple of kids as well. So he's, he really believes in this, and he called me, in this process, like maybe a couple of times during the week to say, man, I went down there and they just said it's not going to happen. I like to hear that in his voice, like not necessarily defeat, but just the disappointment. It was to say that, we got to figure out this issue. He went in himself to the police district and, we got some answers, not all the answers, more so referred to someone else, but they told him essentially that, that neighborhood, there was a lot going on in that neighborhood recently. And from this point, at least until something changes, they're not going to allow any block party permits to happen, or any street closings, I should say. It's not that there's a bus running through. Okay,
so it's not just because it's a block event, more along the lines of overall block party. So for people who are listening who are not from Philly, or are from Philly and not from like the hoods of Philly,
mm-hmm.
block parties are a big thing, especially during the spring and the summer, where they get the permit to close down the block so no cars can drive down there. They could essentially party in the street.
Let me ask you a question.
What's up?
Tell me about your favorite block party. Tell me about, when you were 12 and what the block party meant to you and why you even still remember it. I'm sure you do.
So growing up in and essentially growing up in North Philly, it's like you had block captains. Each block essentially had a captain who that captain was basically the